All right, welcome to Truth Dojo. Today is exciting because I care about my being more than my knowledge. And this is the whole point. So I'm really excited to just be here with my friends and not make any meaning out of it like I have been accustomed to, and not approaching it with an achievement mindset, and just like really enjoying the process. What a cool group here too today, because it's people who I feel really close with and trusting with, and we can have a really fun conversation. So a couple of us are eating and having coffee, and it feels like just hanging out with family on a Saturday morning. Maybe just to get us started, I can do a very short intro meditation just to connect all of our energy here. So if you want to close your eyes, or you can keep them open if you have something beautiful you want to look at, and just feel where your stomach is at, feel where your heart is at. Be aware of what needs you have. Be aware that your needs are important and you can get what you want, and everybody here wants you to get what you want. And we truly are just a little family, and we get to just kind of casually and in a fun way go in and out of the heart and the mind, and discussion and playfulness, and something tender comes up, that's perfect as well. And just let's all be supported together. And I'm really honored to be here, especially as the representative of the male-bodied humans. I really feel honored to be here in this space, feel trusted in being seen in my process as well. And it's exciting to have what it just feels like we're representing something here together. We are representing a certain flavor of humanity, and it's not about getting anywhere, it's about honoring where we are at. So that's my intro meditation. Yay! Thank you. So today's topic officially, which I don't know how much we're going to follow it, but officially is intimacy as a superpower, meeting others where they are. And this has been really coming up a lot for me lately in recognizing that as I've discussed before, my Enneagram type is type 3, which is the achiever, and kind of like having a tendency to try and push and achieve, and like it's about getting things done in order to be worthy, to become worthy, to finally get across that golden bridge, and to really just recognize where I am, and to, as Katie said earlier, to meet myself where I am at is a huge deal for me, because there's so much that I haven't allowed myself to settle into. And so for me, this is a great opportunity to be vulnerable and to be to demonstrate vulnerability because it's useful, but also just for me and just for like, I'm a member of Truth Dojo too. I'm a participant too. So just really being able to um, have that space for myself feels really exciting. So I just want to introduce like intimacy as a superpower. Like, what does that mean? And we can kind of start moving into this. Is basically being able to trust ourselves as we are inquiring with ourselves about what is a deeper truth. And the reason that's so important for me to say at this moment is because historically I have, you could say, oh, Asla joined, hello, welcome. For me, as I was talking about the achievement-oriented intimacy, if I'm really pushing myself to do it right and to be intimate and to be all the things, I'm not actually building trust with myself. I'm like throwing myself under the bus, or I'm like giving away secrets that are not really ready to be given away. And this sort of achievement-oriented intimacy is not the path that will bring me into my soul, because it's not bringing me more safety, and I have to really feel safe with myself to do this. So if I'm asking myself, first of all, like, why do I want intimacy? Like, what is my reasoning? What is the actual motive for this whole process? Do I want to be like the most spiritual, best intimacier ever in the world, or is it so that I can trust myself more? Is it so that I can feel seen by myself? Is it so that I can be in deeper connection with people and really just have friends instead of acquaintances wherever I go, just like family instead of other bodies, other souls, and just really connecting with people. So this is kind of what it brings up for me. But then we also talked about last week how this like intimacy with ourselves is also making space for genuine superpowers and our creative abilities and things that and I know several of you are really into this topic of superpowers. And so if we can trust ourselves more, we can actually tap into more of our creative genius, and it doesn't feel as foreign. So yeah, that's my intro. I don't want to go too much because I'm really excited to hear what you all have to say, and we'll play with the energy today. I really like having a small group. It actually feels fun. It feels like a writing group that we're doing with Lissa, and yeah, I'm excited to see. Mira, you want to contribute something?
Oh, I didn't. No, I don't. I mean, I can, but
I just saw you were not muted.
I would love to say something to this, which, thank you, Joshua, and I agree. It feels really nice to have a small group. It does feel more intimate, which is appropriate. You were talking about specifically the Enneagram, and I don't have to go too far into this if other people don't have access to the language of the Enneagram, but
we could just pull it real quick. Would that be helpful?
Yeah.
How many of you know your Enneagram type? Okay, so Q could use some Enneagram schooling at some point, but otherwise the others are familiar. Yeah.
Cool. I mean, for the most part, it's a I'm not going to say a personality typing system because it feels deeper than that. It sort of gets to the way in which different types of people function in the world emotionally. Like, it gets a lot to the internal stuff. And there are 9, it's in a circle and it's like a clock and there are 9 types on it, and everybody has all of the types within them, but you can type as like more one energy than another. But Joshua, what you said really resonated with me because I identify as a 4, which is like the individualist, the artist, but I have a 3 wing. So I understand very much this feeling of like wanting to achieve and wanting to, it's so funny, like the idea of like even achieving being the best intimacy or achieving being the most enlightened one, which is like actually a contradiction in terms, because the idea is there isn't a place to arrive at. And I find that like as soon as I get to a point, whether it's in a relationship or in a job or in a whatever, I think he was a 4 too. That would be my guess. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought looking at these chats. Look at all the 7 energy. How exciting. That like the moment I feel like I have arrived or like I got it is the moment that I have fallen out of process. Hi, Chanel. And I've been thinking a lot about the idea of travel as process. And if I enjoy the process of traveling so much, of like the being in the experience while it's happening, can I bring that love of travel into my daily process of like, interacting with people or doing any kind of work, that maybe it would like make it easier for me to not have an achiever mindset if I think about the process in a more sexy way. I don't know if that makes sense.
I love that. It's so sexy to be in a process. Like, because I would say like, especially the Western world is really geared towards, it is sexy to accomplish things. It's sexy to cross things off a box. And really, like you said, I totally relate to that. Like one of the big reasons I love travel is because I can't deny the fact that I'm in a process when I'm in a completely new place or a new environment with new people. I have to surrender and realize that I'm, constantly changing and adjusting. It becomes like undeniably obvious in those cases. And so this is I really, really appreciate this topic because it's a thing that I meditate on a lot, and like, how can I make my daily life more like infused with more of that natural curiosity and wonder that something like traveling or doing something new and adventurous outside of myself provides. Like, because that's still looking outside of myself. Like, how can I be just as curious about my internal experience in this moment and realize that this is a whole landscape of travel within? And yeah. It's a big reason I like doing morning pages. I do like stream of consciousness writing every morning, and it's like traveling along my internal landscape, and like, I didn't know all this was going on in here. And yeah, like letting ourselves be curious about that leads to knowing ourselves more deeply, more intimately.
Yeah, thanks, Katie.
I appreciate this group, and I resonated with what Joshua was saying about kind of putting an achievement lens on intimacy, and how that isn't necessarily the best way to create safety in intimacy. And so I got kind of associations in different relationships where we were like, we gotta get intimate right now and like say the stuff we're afraid to say. And then actually there wasn't safety in our relationship to hold that. And so it was really awful and really hurtful and eroded safety even more. And so that came to my mind. And also related and giving context to where I'm at right now is I started to get a migraine on Thursday, and so kind of all Thursday was like feeling a lot of pain, and then Friday was like still in migraine land. And so I've had a lot of experiences in the last like 48 hours or whatever of having to be really intimate with myself because there was no other option. It was like, I'm in a lot of pain, and it's not just like my head, but it's also like my whole body. And so not being able to be like, wow, what do I do? What do I achieve to get myself out of this situation? It's more like, okay, how do I go inside and feel all of this so that I can make it to the next moment?
Yeah, and I just want to like underline that. That's really amazing. And you know, with I'll just speak in my language. You know, women especially tend to put themselves down, like, what's wrong with me? What am I doing wrong? As the go-to like solution to any issue. And so really being able to notice that is a pattern, like, how can I, like, how is this my fault, is really the you know, it's not going to be helpful. It's not a helpful question necessarily, right? And so being aware of that and bringing that to the forefront as like that is the issue that's probably causing the migraine, is the addiction to asking, how is everything my fault?
Yeah, I'm feeling about that and thinking about that and appreciating that perspective on it, because I have had a lot of negative self-talk, and throughout this whole experience, it's not just been like, oh shoot, I have a headache. It's like, oh, I should really write down all of the traumas I experienced throughout my like childhood, because it's all like on me and like dragging me down. And how do I, you know, support myself in this moment? And how do I, so it's stuff like really related to me while I'm having this migraine, but also stuff that's like, oh wow, like I don't know what's going on energetically. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world. So just allowing it to not all be like me, but just being like, me as a receiver is experiencing these things. And the more I can be present with it, the more I can help resolve them and let them move through the kind of collective experience of what's happening. And what I've been feeling is like today I feel like there's more space to like move into more, you know, productive activities or things that are more in alignment with my self-care and like actually acting in accordance with my soul alignment, because I went all the way in as far as I could go into those memories and those thoughts and just the sensations that I couldn't necessarily like put my like thinking brain onto. So it feels really intimate to me to be like, I don't know what's happening in my body, or I'm feeling this pain here, and not judging it and just being like, this is what I'm feeling right now. And yeah, I think anytime if I put on like, what did I do wrong? You know, Thursday I had 2 coffees and it was like the best day I've had in a really long time, and that probably had something to do with like having a migraine later. But like, you know, just accepting myself and having gone through what I went through, and being able to be present with intimacy as the core and as the goal in itself, rather than like, I'm being present now so that I can, you know, X, Y, and Z can happen. It's like, I'm being present now because that's what is what I'm being called to do in this moment.
I just want to share this based on what you're saying. This is weird for me because I feel like with all the work I've been doing with Katie, I feel like I'm in a woman's body almost. I just feel so soft and sensitive, and I'm almost crying. Like, I want to just thank you for taking such good care of yourself, and I just love you so much, and I am really I just feel so grateful to have friends that are that I don't feel like I have to baby or something, that you're really standing up and like taking care of yourself, and it just makes me feel so much more on this planet. Like I want to be on this planet because having friends like you. So, thank you.
Really touched by that.
Because I guess the thing that really made me almost feel like crying was like sad, like, oh no, my friend is in pain, but without having the sense of like wanting to jump out and fix it or like do something, and just like, oh, like Q's got this, like just that sense of relaxation. Really, I just felt like, oh, so even if you have like, like a problem, you're good anyway, and I can still be over here and you can still be over there, and it just feels exciting to me that I can just keep on playing and having fun, and like, you're not going to take it personally if I'm feeling good, and I don't have to feel bad because you have something that hurts.
I feel so grateful for that perspective and your sharing of what it is like for you. In my experience, like some of what I have been going through is like the sense of like, where is everybody? Like, where are the people that care about me and are like with me through this? So hearing you say that, it's actually like, wow, like, yeah, like I do want you to still have fun, and I feel powerful in being able to like, I have a very strong image of like, to be in my toroid of pain and like let it keep moving through me, and be with myself in a way that doesn't impinge on other people, or like doesn't make me bitter towards other people because they aren't going through it. And so, yeah, I feel really tender. I have a lot of tenderness in me and a lot of softening in me these past days too. And like being like, I'm in a woman's body. And like letting myself be as soft and tender and vulnerable as I am, while also finding the sense of structure and protection that is available to me. So, wow. And I feel hearing your reflection, Joshua, is like very helpful for me in creating that balance in myself of like, I want to have relationships of care and tenderness with other people. You know, I'm not touching a lot of people these days or like having physical closeness. And so I can own that want, and at the same time, I can, hearing you say that, it's like, oh yeah, it's like a reminder of the strength and power that I do have in myself to hold myself.
Yeah. And hopefully like permission to be badass and to, you know, permission to be I'm just kind of referencing the apparent role that I have in this group, you know, like as facilitating and stuff, but permission to be more powerful than me when that's appropriate, you know, and like just recognizing that, you know, part of my process is just really allowing myself to be human and just allowing myself to be weak when I need to be weak and all that stuff, and you know, letting you also guide me when I need to be guided, and you know, you're somebody who I really trust.
I love you.
Yeah, I love you too.
I'm feeling like soul hug. Like we're far apart, but I feel close to you, Joshua, and I feel solidarity.
Yeah. Yeah. And whether it's for you or for others, like I just want to emphasize, like I trust you because you trust yourself. Right, I trust you because you stand up for yourself and you know what you need, and you know even when it's uncomfortable you're gonna show up for yourself, and that feels exciting for me to be around. And I want to be around people who are who have boundaries for themselves and know what they want, and know what doesn't work for them, and you know, allow themselves to be powerful, which you do.
I'm thinking of like a maybe X-Men or other superhero team where you see characters and stories that there's often a moment where there's like a little bit of conflict or something, because each character knows themselves so well and stands in themselves so strongly that you get to see them as an individual within the collective of the group. And that feels so powerful, that each person has what you're saying, Joshua, that each of us has the rootedness and is going within and reaching the core of who we are, so that we can come back out again and collaborate and cooperate and co-create together with all of our fullness. And I certainly feel like that's been a huge wake up for me the past few weeks as I've been going through some various challenging things, is like, oh yeah, going within, like where's the core of me? Where's the core of me? And staying with that part. And really that feels really vulnerable, and the core of intimacy of like, what am I feeling? What are my needs? what do I want? And being able to know that is what starts off this ability to say this is what it is and make it into the reality beyond my own body.
And thank you all for honoring this conversation. You're welcome to chime in.
Yeah, I feel everybody's like sitting in a circle. Like we have like a astral space that we're all in right now.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what's coming up, one of the things that came up for me during that conversation, and Q articulated it really well with this image of like the X-Men and how each one of them has gone so deeply within themselves that now what they project outwards is a very it's what you were describing, Joshua, is like what you trust about Q is like she's got herself on a really deep level. And it was interesting to me, and of course like this is coming up because we've talked a lot about this and related things recently, Joshua, so like I'm not like trying to pick what you said apart, but like something that I heard in that was the converse of it, which is like I don't trust some people because I feel like they don't have themselves and then I have to get them, or like I take some extra responsibility around people that I perceive not to have their own backs.
Like habitually, not like, you know, I want to become more aware of when I do that.
Right.
Yeah.
And it just, the reason why it stood out to me as like being significant or something that I was interested in diving into is because I think it all goes back to this, the concept of meeting others where they're at. And that if we think, oh, I can meet others where they're at if they're at a place where they trust themselves, or I can meet others where they're at if they're at a place where they've got their own back, and like kind of having that prerequisite or conditionality around meeting others where they're at limits us from being able to actually create a safe enough space for someone to step into more of their own like power. And it's not about like you should be here and not there, but like, you know, like we all know that every single person is trustworthy and like it's safe for everyone to trust themselves. And so if we go in being like, whatever you're going through, I trust you. Like I totally trust, like I'm going to go on your ride right now because your ride is safe. Even if it's full of self-sabotage, that's the ride that's going to take you right on back to your true nature, which is unconditional love. Like that, I completely trust you and the process that you're in. And without having to be afraid that like, oh God, I'm going to get unconsciously sucked into their process. But like having that zoomed out awareness that like at the end of the day, whatever pain someone's in, it's there to bring them back into presence. And so I loved what Lissa shared earlier about being in a relationship doesn't mean healing someone else. It means supporting and witnessing them as they heal themselves. It's like the kind of intimacy we're talking about is like simply supporting and witnessing.
And do you want to specify like if that's limited to certain types of relationships or that's every relationship?
Yeah, I guess I would say, right, because this goes into like your own discernment about like where you want to give your energy. And like, so there is some discernment necessary, like determining, is this an individual that I want to create more intimacy and closeness with? Or is this an individual that I don't need to open that door? Like maybe it would be self-abusive to myself. So first it's like meeting ourselves with that kind of intimacy and simply witnessing our own process. Because perhaps where I am in this process right now is like, no, I don't like that person. I don't want to be with them. Then don't, it's like, I want to, it's like, I don't need to be a perfect, like Mother Teresa of like loving every single person in that, in that way where I'm like, I'm just gonna give of myself completely freely to like every single being I encounter. So yeah, maybe what I want to clarify is like, when we've already done that process with ourselves, then being able to extend that process to other people. But if we're still kind of like abusing ourselves, and the way that I've done this in my life is by like forcing myself into doing something that I don't actually want to do because I think it's like the right thing to do. So, like, oh, I should be able to, I don't know, like, I can't think of a specific example recently, but yeah, like I've just, the ways that I've abandoned myself are like not listening to my inner child tell me like, oh, I just don't like being in this group. Like I just, I'm remembering this time in college when I pledged a Christian sorority, even though like I knew the whole time it wasn't really for me. Like I was like, oh, my roommate who's my best friend is doing it. Like I'll kind of do it with her. And then I was like, well, Christian stuff, that's good. Like that's good stuff. Like I should like this. And if I don't like this, I should keep doing it until I like it. Cause like, this is aligned with truth. Like, let me keep going. This must be right because it's with, whatever. And then eventually, and my intuition was just like, we don't really like that. This isn't, we're kind of faking it the whole time, but like still went through with like the entire pledging process. And then as soon as I was initiated, I quit, like finally listening to myself. And, just kind of showed me where it's like, oh, I don't have to, like I was kind of doing a mental override of my, my heart and my gut. Because I was like bullying myself into liking something or being in a process that I thought would help me grow. And the way that I grew from that was like, oh, sometimes you just don't like something. You don't have to do it. And listening to myself in those moments helped me to trust myself more. So yeah, like coming into a place where I could like really trust myself to honor whatever my process was helps me to be in a place where I trust myself to honor whatever anybody else's process is. Like, because I know I'm not going to abandon myself by going on their ride. I will be able to feel if this is something that feels good to me or if it's something that feels not good to me. And yeah, so being first in touch with my own barometer is a prerequisite.
Hi, everybody. First, to go back a little bit, I just wanted to acknowledge you, Joshua, and just really thank you for the way you opened our circle. And I just really appreciate your vulnerability around the achievement part, and I just acknowledge and honor like that growth that it is to lead groups and not be attached to the outcome and not taking on that level of, just that dance you're in, especially given the orientation with Enneagram as an achiever. So I just want to really let you know I heard you, and thank you for sharing that and bringing that into the space. And thank you for creating this group, just like really acknowledging you. And I know other people are a part of creating it too, but just thank you for the initiative and space building. Still very grateful for that. And then I just noticed in just being intimate, well, one, I'm really loving this conversation. It was so sweet between Joshua and Q, and it really felt such a modeling of intimacy Something that's shown up for me was someone that I have an intimate friendship with. We were exploring like the stuck energy came up as a theme, and it was like the sharing of stuck energy, and it really started to occur to me while I was listening to you both, just as a perspective, that like when we're just intimate and present, like it feels like it moves stuck energy for someone or something, whether that's on a group level or between two people. So, and I pulled a card before this call from this quantum oracle I have, and I pulled the stuck energy card. I've never even seen the card. So anyhow, and then I noticed right now, maybe like I really resonated with both Joshua and Katie, what you've been sharing around trust and holding space for someone's process and what that looks like. And I think I started to feel like tension as I was listening, like holding both of your perspectives, like kind of in a way I feel excited and intrigued about. But I noticed, I almost feel like like maybe if things are on a spectrum, it's like I sit in the middle or something. And in my screens, I'm like in the middle, like Joshua, you're on my left, and Katie, you're on my right. But I feel like, I felt a lot of empowerment in what you were sharing, Joshua, around like when we know people got themselves, how that really creates that spaciousness for our interdependence and to be in the dance of life and everyone be where they're at. And then Katie, what I heard with your share was really like, my interpretation of that is just like it's a deeper, more foundational level of like, yes, we can trust everyone's process. But I don't have anything specific I'm wanting to say, except I just noticed I felt like tension in my system over like, I was almost kind of like, my experience, some of their different touch, they have a different access point to this, and it's sort of a tension maybe in their relationship, or am I picking up on, some of Katie's? I've experienced you speaking about it with like a beautiful passion, and so I was sort of like, I don't know if I was feeling half excitement and half anxiety of like, do I feel that? Do I resonate? Like, do I feel like I trust? I mean, yes, I trust everyone, but what was coming up for me was I was in this, someone who runs this, I forget, something quantum, I forget what it was on her Instagram page. Maybe this was in this group, but the trust was defined as when, like quantum trust. And remind me, this might have been in our group here, but it was around when someone's actions, beliefs, and words are all in alignment, then we might trust them or something. But anyhow, I just noticed I'm sitting in a little bit of perhaps my own stuck energy of just like, yeah, all people are trustworthy, but also I do have an experience of if I trust people or not. And it is, if for me, it's like if their actions and their words and their energy are all synced up. But I also feel like I don't judge people when they're not lined up. I just think, oh, they're not in like alignment. But that would create an experience for me where they might say something that's like when someone says something and I don't feel like it's what their energy's saying. Like I have with people I'm close with, we speak to that, I'm like, really? Like you're terrified? Your energy is this way. And they're like, they'll be like, oh yeah, I don't know why I said that, so like having that dialogue when our energy and words and actions haven't lined up has created intimacy with people. So anyways, I'm just naming that, and I think whatever you two each are speaking to is something I've experienced in relationship too. Like I see myself in both of you, and my intention's not to polarize your viewpoints. I don't think they're like that, but they're just different angles perhaps. I don't know. So I'm just like, having a little bit of a response. Like I've been around people who trust everyone, and I haven't like trusted that experience. So anyhow, maybe I'll pause here, but this is just sort of a stream of words to share.
Well, I'd love to speak to that. Maybe before I do, maybe we could get like a show of hands. Does anybody else feel the same? Sort of like being in the middle or the tension?
I mean, I have a disclaimer. I don't want to make a vote.
Okay, sure.
I don't really know what you mean, Joshua.
just curious if anybody is specifically resonating with what Mira shared, just so I can speak to it for multiple people, or if I'm kind of just speaking to her.
I mean, she said several different things. I mean, I resonate with some of it. I'm not sure what exactly you're
The
referring.
tension, but if you share the same kind of tension.
Not in the same way. I wouldn't say that.
So yeah.
I would just say that I was feeling that tension of like, ooh, can I trust everyone? But when we talk about someone having their back in terms of being aligned with their energy and their words and their actions, then I'm like, oh yeah, if someone is aligned that way, it's way more likely that I'm gonna be able to trust them if they're getting their back by aligning themselves.
Cool.
But if someone's misaligned, then I'm gonna be more guarded
Cool.
and discerning.
I don't want to speak for Katie. I'm gonna interpret what I think is happening, but then I'll let Katie also tell me if this is accurate. Is like, I think I'm speaking to my focus on people's minds and conscious identities, where Katie is speaking to people's hearts and overall processes. And so even if Katie trusts their heart and their process, it doesn't mean she necessarily trusts their mind. And if I don't trust somebody's mind, it doesn't mean that I don't trust their heart and their process also. So it's kind of like, she just has more of a, this is what I learned from her, she has a more of a tendency to speak to the soul and to the heart, where I have more of a tendency to speak to the mind. And so I think we both agree, and we're just kind of speaking at different, we're aimed at different levels.
Yeah, totally. And that's what I think I love, because I have both, I orient to both.
Yeah.
And I think maybe I have a little, I don't feel like it's a conflict in me. It doesn't feel that strong, but it's something I experience. Like, how do I integrate that? Because they kind of, I don't feel like I've fully integrated how to be then in life and with people, given I recognize and have access to both those places as an orientation to an experience or a relationship or someone's process or my process.
Right.
So I guess I'm seeking that like wholeness inside of that.
Exactly. And that integration and that tension you're feeling, that integration, that's literally what enlightenment is, right? Is the integration of the heart and the mind. And so being able to notice that that is a tension is the most brilliant thing you can be doing.
Yeah. I think that's where so much of my heartache comes from, like being on the planet. It's like I feel like that's almost like that's just like my pain of everything, because it's like perhaps that's not integrated as on a planetary, on a collective level. So like we're all that's the pain in every moment.
And so Katie like helped me this morning with a lot of this stuff, but one of the ways, I kind of lost it. One of the ways is basically like, do we need other people to achieve that first before it gives us permission to achieve it, or are we going to allow ourselves to move there before others? And so it's like giving ourselves permission to pioneer this path of integration as like the first wave before other people get there. And so we are either the permission getters or we're the permission setters.
Wow. Yeah, this is so, I'm excited, Katie, to see what you're going to say. You just had a but this is so neat. I had no idea that, this really has been, I think, where I'm at. And I've had to go through some emotions of like, F this. Like, I don't see anyone out there that's like embodied, like, so I'm in Mount Shasta, right? I won't go into this in length, but I'm going to meditations where we're astro journaling into Telos, and it's all like visionary, right? And then I run an organization and I have 9 phone calls a day and I pay people and I'm accountable on like a ground level. And I've hit this wall where I'm like, I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to be going in both directions, like be connected to nature and going in the portals of the mystery of existence and be like responsible for like my bills and my relationships and my communication and my blah, blah, blah. And it's what it's been showing me is just like, I've had to accept, like, I feel like I think you're all role models to me. And I look forward to getting to know more of how we are in the world and how we are in our, I mean, maybe that's the intimacy that I'm really seeking is like, how are we, it doesn't need to be on this call, I just mean in life, like, how are we experiencing the expansiveness of the universe and the mystery and the feminine sacredness and like being in our human bodies and blah, the mundane, they're still fetching wood and drinking water or whatever that enlightenment phrase is. So it feels fun to be in connection with you around this because I've been upset about it, feeling like it's just too much. I can do one or the other. Why don't I just pick one? Like, and I have like the story going like so many people I know have just kind of more chosen a direction. Like I'm around a bunch of hippie spiritual bonfire friends up here. And then I have friends who just like get their shit done. And I'm like, this sucks. I don't want to pick one. And I feel like I'm just moving between the two. They're not like integrated in each moment as an embodiment.
I would just like to share kind of one thing that pops up, how I relate to that. Being in a relationship with Katie is so interesting because, I've been getting to know her family lately, and her father, which is her role model for a man. He is he's very kind, he's very gentle. He wouldn't call himself like super deep, like he kind of gets overwhelmed by our conversation sometimes, but he is so freaking reliable. Like he will do exactly what he says he's going to do every single time, and he shows up on time. He works out regularly. He's just a really super reliable, baby boomer guy. And so for me, this kind of brings up this sort of intimidation of like, if I am not as reliable, last night we were kind of exaggerating, like I'm an unreliable bitch. If I'm not as reliable, then I'm afraid of being a disappointment. And so, and Katie's also helping me see like I'm reliable in other ways. I'm a reliable more in intimacy. I'm reliable more in opening my heart and showing up, and in that way. And so by being reliable in the ways that my superpowers are naturally oriented toward, I don't have to, I'm allowed to be a reliable bitch in ways where it's not as natural for me, and it can grow from the superpowers. I don't have to force it in ways that are not my orientation. And and this is where you could say, I'm kind of just seeing this in my mind's eye here, you could say like, because I'm a 3 on the Enneagram, so I'm an achiever oriented ego fixation. And so that could be fixated on achieving anything, but because I also have like, you could put this overlay this on astrology too, like my moon is in Aquarius and my sun is in Gemini, so my ego fixation is going to be specifically on Aquarius being like evolutionary, and then Gemini being communication. So it's going to be like I'm going to have my achievement oriented toward evolutionary communication. And so I have a unique map of my being that if I try to veer away from that and have a different map, I'm always going to be betraying myself. Like if I try to behaved like Katie's dad does, I would be betraying myself. And I kind of feel like that's the end of that monologue, but it felt important to say.
Well, are you saying like we're all integrating, like not to, in your share, I really got like maybe not to compare yourself to, you know, the role model Katie might have for a man, but instead to like operate from your superhero gift and let that maybe communicate to other and have you see where you are being that quality, but you're embodying it maybe in a more intimate way or a more spiritual way or a different way. And then it's like a life practice of like integrating these ways of being into more and more parts of ourselves.
Yeah, so like our role as a person is like in evolutionarily is to become more powerful, to embody more energy, to embody more power, more voltage. And doing so is what bridges the mind and the heart connection, because the internal pressure we can trust ourselves with is basically the heart is saying, okay, I'm going to allow the mind to have more power because the mind is becoming more and more trustworthy in service to the heart. And so if we are increasingly following our true gifts, then our heart feels safer and safer and safer, and safer with the mind. And that is exactly what creates the bridge that you're referring to.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. So as we build trust in our hearts, our mind, the power, it works together is really what that's softening. Like it experiencing the tension or conflict can be more efficient.
Yeah. I think of it almost like the heart is like a star, and then the mind is like a tractor. So if you imagine like around the sun, there's like a tractor that's always like going around the sun and like cleaning up the space so that the sun can shine without any hindrances. You know, it's always in service of that sun. And if it thinks it's the sun, there's a real issue because it's not going to be able to do its job. And so being able to continually orient toward like this sun helps the sun grow bigger and bigger and bigger, and then the tractor is like working better and better and better and better and cleaning up all this space around it. So it's and this is also why in a male-female relationship, the masculine needs to be oriented in service to the feminine, because it's, you know, the feminine is the star and the sun is a feminine being, and like on the inside, and then it appears masculine on the outside. And just how like Katie gets more shit done than I do, and she appears masculine on the outside, but it's because her feminine on the inside is being fed and it's powering the masculine output. So if I can be more in service to her heart, I'm being more in service to my heart, and so the feminine is the representative of the heart in the relationship and the star. I know you didn't ask that, so I'm trying to keep it concise.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Oh, Lissa wants me to skywrite the service to the feminine.
Sorry, I've been sort of steamrolling the comments section. With
please. No, it's great. No, that's why we have a writer in the group. That's great. What is stirring inside of you?
Let's see if a sound comes out and I'm picking up. I have arrived in Oahu safely, and today is the last day in quarantine. At 1 p.m., in few hours from now, I get to be liberated and go out to the ocean and ask permission to release what doesn't serve any longer. And I feel like I'm in the process, and so all the conversations around being in the process and process being sexy and not knowing where I'm going is quite resonating with me. I just arrived here purely based on the intuition of I have to go to Hawaii because Jupiter and Sun are empowering me here, and when I put my head on my pillow I can see Jupiter from the yurt's window, and but I don't know what I'm doing. And also what we talked about, trust and trusting, but I'm trusting myself. I think this is the first time I'm completely and genuinely trusting myself, and I'm not feeling guilty about that. I'm not feeling guilty that I'm not instead going to where my mother is, which is a Mediterranean part of Turkey, and I'm not feeling guilty about where my father is. He's in Denmark, and they have been both inviting me to return, return to what? Return home is not the right container. And instead I just did the complete opposite of going even further I could be from Turkey. And when I decided, my first 3 days were just being in complete tantrum and tears, and just I threw a fit to myself. I was screaming and crying and releasing, and then I realized, wait a minute, this is quite a reaction to my own decision. What is going on here? And I realized under that tantrum, anger, fear concept of being even more far away, there was fear. And then the fear was shielding, covering my truth that I have to be here at the moment, and I really don't know why. So 2 weeks it's been, and I haven't left this garden, and I just feel happy, and it just feels right. And Q, when you were sharing about your process of have I done something wrong for your migraine, because my feet started swelling, and when that happens I just feel very heavy and it just doesn't feel attractive to me. And then I was feeling guilty. Oh, did I eat too much cheese? Was I drinking too much wine? And as soon as you shared, I was like, no, it's okay. It's just the body is processing something, and I need to allow it and not look out for what I did wrong. So that was very, very sweet. Thank you. And another piece, everything everyone shared is just weaved into my experiences here. My Airbnb host is next door, and she's very kind and sweet, and she decided to cancel the people after me so I can stay here longer, which is incredible. So I don't need to go and look for another location. because everything I checked was very pricey, and it was places in high rises and with super ugly furniture, and I haven't even worn shoes in the last 2 weeks. And the bathroom doesn't even have a door. That's the bathroom. And the yurt doesn't have real windows. It's just all open. It's a mesh. So it's been very sweet to be. And then this beautiful lady is Kina, which means cinnamon in English. Gives me so much love and doesn't leave the yurt. We're working on boundaries. She jumps on me. So it's like there's trusting my host, trusting myself, trusting Kina, trusting all the creatures that are in the yurt, like all the geckos and lizards, and just learning to locate or I guess I'm coming into their environment, and excuse you, I love you, but I didn't say you can come. And I think this is the first time I'm just quite learning to be integrated in the elements and respect them, and the more I respect them, I feel their respect back. It's quite profound, and it's a process. And I'm in the if it's like a pit, it's like going through fear and letting go, and then now I feel like I'm at the bottom of it. I'm now sourcing, feeling, sensing, and maybe a little bit of knowing, and I think the next phase is letting come. After letting go, it's like letting come, and I trust that something is percolating, and yes, that's all for now. Thank you.
Well, I feel like jumping in and adding my voice just because I feel a little out of the loop, and I'm feeling into the energy of this container and just feeling like it isn't feeling very cohesive yet, at least not to me. And I actually came from another call before this one where I was feeling a lot of cohesion and a lot of like feminine warmth, receptivity, acceptance, and love, and permission to be our full selves. And I have a desire to carry some of that energy with me into this phase, but I haven't been feeling like how I should do that, and aware that the permission isn't going to be just given to me. It's something I have to, feels like something I have to take or claim if I want that. So, yeah, it's interesting. I feel so much comes up for me around this group and around this space, because there's sometimes this way in which I really feel and agree with the words that a lot of people are have been saying, and yet I'm not feeling I'm not feeling like those words are really leading to what we're saying we want. And there's just a lot of unspoken wounds, really. And I'm noticing that. It seems like I'm the only one who's not muted, so I'll keep talking. Recently, I feel like sharing I had a journey, and I'm integrating that. I had a journey that Joshua and Katie held space for, and one of the things that's coming up for me is that I was asked to write a testimonial, which I'm happy to do, but there's something that feels a little bit forced about it. And also, I'm holding that several weeks ago, there was a meeting in person. I had a meeting in person with both Joshua and Katie at a park, and then I had a meeting in person at a restaurant with Joshua, Katie, and Q. And I left that meeting feeling like I wasn't understood. And I've been carrying that I feel judged by Q, actually. And I'm not really sure why I'm feeling that, but that's in the space, so I'm going to presence it. And it was like directly after that meeting that I was told that I needed to have less communication with Joshua, and I was wondering where that was coming from, and I made up a story in my mind that it was coming from Q, so I'm gonna own that. And it could have been coming from Katie, and it also could have been coming from Hilmar, so maybe all of that. And so I've been feeling a little distance, just feeling some confusion. So we're here to talk about intimacy, I guess. So I'm bringing my truth, I'm bringing my heart, I'm bringing my hurt, and along with that confusion, I've been feeling into like, do I belong in this space? Do I need to take space from this space to be myself? And that is what my journey of self-love is looking like right now. It's like really feeling into that.
Thank you, Chanel, for sharing. I'm giving you space to finish if you have more to say, but I'm here to participate when it's the right time.
It's been confusing to figure out how to bring myself here. And there's been a feeling I've been getting from people that I'm not evolved enough and I don't really belong here. I don't really deserve to bring my gifts here. And that's been a really confusing thing to navigate for me.
As you share this, I feel a little bit trapped in like anything I say I feel fear that anything I say will be used against me. I feel now and often in your presence, I feel afraid of hurting your feelings. I feel like I really want you to be happy and I really want you to be loved, and it's really challenging for me to know how to do that in a way that you're able to receive. And so it feels like I guess you could say I feel really unvalued in my energy feels really unvalued by you, and I feel like you have more complaints about me than praise. And so it actually took a lot of courage for me to ask you to not necessarily write just a testimonial, but just to write a message to me about what value you received from our session together, because you did not express what the value was for you, and succinctly in writing. And I also find that it would be a very helpful and important exercise for you to put into words the value that you experienced, because in my experience, you have a tendency to forget the good things that happened and kind of like focus on what you are not getting out of it. And so for all of our benefit, I really wanted to have you to focus on what value you receive, whether it's a testimonial and shared or if it's just private. It's a helpful practice either way, for me to feel that and for you to also get a chance to focus on that. So if focusing on what is good about your life feels forced, then what is your natural inclination? So it kind of raises that question. And I'm open to letting this go into whatever feels relevant for you. I don't have any agenda in bringing up what I'm bringing up. And thanks for sharing. And this is also great for this topic. I think everybody is here for what unravels, and there's no wrongdoing here.
Well, in that case, I feel like it was a misinterpretation or miscommunication, because I feel like there's a difference between saying, I want a testimonial so I can get more clients, versus I want you to journal and write about what you took from this experience. I think those are really different things.
Well, I would suggest going to the message right now and reading it.
Right now?
Yeah.
All right.
And if you want to read it out loud for us all, that would be cool.
Okay, you wrote, to start off in answering it would be best for me if you could share about the value you received from yesterday's session, perhaps even write it in the form of a testimonial that could be shared. That would be helpful for all of us to move toward integrating the experience. Thank you.
So the focus is on write out the value you received, and then perhaps as a testimonial. So that's not a mandatory request. That's a suggestion.
Okay.
So I really want to accentuate that I'm never going to bully you into anything you don't want to do. And I am always on your side. And if you don't want to do something, it would be my joy to honor that. And so, seeing that as anything else, honestly has nothing to do with me. And this is why I say I have a hard time knowing how to honor you in a way that you can receive, because even if I write something explicitly, it can still be twisted into something that I'm not actually saying. And that's what I say. I kind of feel trapped by some of the premises that you set up, and the question I responded to in that texting, I also felt trapped by it. So I couldn't respond to the question you had asked me directly, because it was also, it felt like I felt trapped in answering that question too.
May I say something?
Yeah.
Well, Chanel, I guess I have a request, and that is like, do you have a request of Katie or Joshua or Q? Because I really heard you when you first, as a listener and just holding space here, you came in, which was landed a little bit more as of a projection. You were saying this group, there's a lot of unspoken wounds, and there's not really this experience that you had on your call before of love and warmth and feminine. And now I'm really appreciating that you're sharing your own experience of a wound that you have, like you're hurt by something and you're in an experience.
I was talking about my unspoken wounds, just to be clear.
Okay. That's not what I heard you say.
Yeah, I didn't catch that either. I appreciate you saying that.
So it's helpful that you're getting more personal, and that feels more intimate. And so I think this is great. Like Joshua said, that this is coming up and this feels like a real conversation. And I wonder if there's something that you specifically you want clear. Is there like a request or a desire that you have to take place right now with, whether it's with Q or Joshua or Katie?
I think my request, part of it would be, I would like to hear from Q and from Katie to get clarity on where I stand here. And now I also just want to say, when I was talking about unspoken wounds, I might have said it in a general sounding way, but it was a prelude to me trying to open up about how I'm feeling today. So feels I just want to say I am talking about ways that I've totally glossed over my feelings with many aspects of things that have happened to do with this group in the past.
And Chanel, before we continue, I guess I'm feeling a little a fear that if something is upsetting for you, that you'll suddenly hang up the call and not continue. So would you be able to promise that you'll just stay on the call for the duration of this conversation?
Yes, sure.
That would be helpful for me. Thanks.
I was going to say that if my personal process is taking up too much space in the group, then I would like to volunteer to exit the call, but I wouldn't just do that suddenly and randomly. And so it feels like now I'm feeling a little bit projected on, that you would expect that of me or fear that.
Because you had done it in the past, it brought up the fear for me that it would happen again. And so I'm not projecting onto you. I'm saying it would be helpful for me to have some reassurance.
I'm willing to grant you that reassurance, and I don't remember that happening in the past.
Okay.
And I'm sorry you have so much fear connected to me, Joshua. That makes me feel sad, and I would like that to not be the case, and I'd like to own my part in creating that. So
Cool. And I'm always happy to forgive, and I really appreciate, you know, your showing up for this, and it feels important. If I feel excited, and yeah, if Q and or Katie want to be involved as well, or not, that is also exciting. Does anybody have any needs right now that need to be expressed, or everybody's cool with this conversation?
Hey.
Hey.
Yeah, so my heart is pounding right now. I feel kind of taken by surprise to be having this conversation. I feel exposed in this conversation being brought up in Truth Dojo. It feels I feel like I haven't had a lot of interactions with you, Chanel. And to speak about like a personal connection with you in a group of people who aren't part of that personal connection, I think that's where that feeling of being exposed comes from. And it's not comfortable. I don't feel comfortable right now. When you first started sharing, Chanel, I felt judged because I really value acceptance and presence in this group. And I really appreciate what you shared, Mira, about your experience of that kind of feeling like a projection, because that was kind of how I was feeling also. So I don't really know what to say, because if I were choosing when to have this conversation or to talk with you, Chanel, about this with Katie and Joshua, because, you know, we have all interacted together, I would not choose to have it now. Because I feel like it's, I would feel more comfortable not being in like a public group, although, you know, there's only 3 more people here than the 4 of us, and we have some established trust here. So that's just kind of like my context. I think that I can say that I have felt uneasy and unsure about where we stand, Chanel. Maybe I've picked up on that confusion. It's kind of like, where's Chanel? What's going on with Chanel? And for the most part, I've just kind of followed your lead. I feel like there hasn't been a lot of like reaching towards me to create a connection. And so I've kind of kept a neutral stance. When we met that day, I was excited to meet you in person and see if we could drop in and make a connection. I feel like we did somewhat. And also, when you walked away that day, I was kind of like scratching my head, like, oh, what happened? Like, I feel like Chanel is like running away from us. And so that didn't feel good. It felt like I felt maybe judged in that moment, or just also feeling compassion for you and your process wherever you were. which maybe wasn't meeting me in the way that I enjoy being met by friends or people in my community. So I have a sense of compassion and trust for you in your process, wherever that is. And I appreciate the way that you have shown up to Truth Dojo to share your meditations and the way that you have shared your experiences, and over the past month or two sharing more of your like personal experience and your feelings. I've really appreciated seeing that. So I'm not sure what else to say. That's kind of what I have to say right now.
Thanks, Q. I'd like to respond to a couple things. First of all, I want to thank you for not making me wrong for bringing up this conversation in this space and owning it as that you would have done things differently. For me, for whatever reason, it felt necessary, and it didn't feel like an option to bring this to you outside of this space. And to any of you, actually. And the day I walked away, that made you feel not met when I did that. It was because I was already ready to leave and was walking toward my car when the three of you suddenly decided to cross the street and play with an art gallery and painting. And I didn't feel like that was really what I wanted to do. And yet I felt pulled into crossing the street with you. Sometimes in that whole interaction, I felt pulled into connecting the way you guys wanted to when I didn't really want to be doing that. And so I kind of got to my limit, and I was like, I need to just walk to my car and leave, because I think I had something I needed to do after that. And I didn't feel like the energy you guys were in, that I could interrupt that and be like, hey, I have this need and I need to go. I didn't feel connected with you or included enough to do that. So that's my explanation, and that's why I had to self-care in that moment. So you're right, I haven't been reaching out to you, and I haven't really felt welcomed, or I haven't felt the desire from you for me to do that. So
I hear you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing more of that context.
Yeah, and thank you for naming that this conversation is making you feel uncomfortable, and I'd like to honor that by closing it if you wish and moving on to something else.
Well, I don't think anybody's asking for that, and I want to recognize that the temptation to close the conversation is the opposite of intimacy, and I think we're just going to be building on the conversation, even if we're not addressing this relationship directly. If anybody has anything they want to add, it's only going to be continuing the process of identifying what will bring us all into more harmony. And we don't need to end anything like just, you know, this is not a burden. This is a relief. This conversation is helping us all to see and to be seen. And you know, in my experience, Chanel, you seem to feel like you don't fit in a lot of places. And so it doesn't seem like it's about this specific group. And I feel for myself, I'm really doing my best to be accommodating so that you can you can go at your own speed and do what you need to do. And in my experience, it's you who is telling us that you don't fit in. It's not us who's telling you that you don't fit in. And this is what makes it feel difficult. But it doesn't mean you're not loved. It doesn't mean you're not accepted. It's you have needs that maybe you haven't been sharing, and so you're stepping forward and sharing your needs in this way is exactly what we needed. And this is exactly what is bringing in more harmony. So you're being apologetic for bringing exactly what we needed is the inner conflict. And if you can really see that you are bringing medicine to this group right now by bringing your needs to this group, then we can move forward without any kind of projections or hang-ups. But the sense of guilt or apology that you feel, if you can recognize that that's actually not true and nobody is blaming you for anything, then we can find what is true at a deeper level. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
I'm hearing you say that there is no need for guilt or apology here. And yet I'm actually still feeling that, even though the way Q worded it was like, if it were me, I would choose to not do it this way. I still felt a reprimand in that statement, even whether or not she meant it that way or not. I felt reprimanded and I feel guilty now.
Okay, so I think I'll let Katie respond to that.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in, and because I was asked to and because I would like to. And specifically on this topic, I'm appreciating the way Josh was framing it now, and I'd like to share my appreciation for you, Chanel, specifically in the way that you're expressing your need is a relief to me. It makes me feel like, it's exactly what we talked about at the beginning of the session, actually, in the conversation with Joshua and Q, where it's like, oh, thank God, like, you've got you, I got me, we got each other, we can be buddies, we're cool. That is the feeling that I have when I hear you being like, okay, here's some stuff that is going on for me, and I'm gonna honor that by seeing it in myself and sharing it. And despite whatever I might feel in this life, oh my God, I am being put on blast. Let's defend ourselves. Like, I don't need to do that. But but like, I have that temptation to be like, well, and, it's just a helpful reminder, like, oh, this is what it is. And based on what you shared about even that incident, I'm so happy we're like blowing up that moment of miscommunication after we went to lunch and then got distracted by this very cool art gallery that has a 3D painting. We were like, ooh, we're little kids at a candy shop, and you're like, I have to go in your car, but I'll come because I don't want to. It's like the miscommunication only happened, as you said, Chanel, because you were like, I had a need and I felt like I wasn't safe to bring it up. And like, if we can do, and you come away from this meeting with anything today, I want you to know that 100% I want to hear your needs. And I'm also like, I want to hear your needs, and I also release myself from any sort of obligation to meet your needs. but like knowing what your needs are is going to help me show up and feel safe in identifying what my needs are. Maybe they'll match up and maybe they won't match up. But like only when we're in a space where we're both communicating transparently can we foster like a true friendship with one another. And I'm happy talking about this here because it's like, you know, I can't avoid it. This is something I feel like I would want to sort of avoid, but it's not something that I actually want to avoid. Just like my mind feels like, oh, maybe I'll snooze that text message, you know, like, oh, I don't know how to respond to this exactly. And so I just have a real deep appreciation for like having this conversation and being seen in it. And also saying I would like to be able to have these conversations as close to the moment as possible in the future. And like, I also understand that you are doing your best. Like I'm not trying to blame you here. You're like, this is the moment that I feel safe bringing this up. And you brought it up and like, thank you. You did it. You did the thing that's hard to do. And, you know, I understand that like this moment right now, the aftermath of that is going to signal to you how safe you are to do this in the future too, right? Or it's gonna, you know, either say, oh, I brought this up and then shit hit the fan and everything went badly and I'm never gonna do that again. Or like, oh my God, I said the thing I needed and then some stuff happened and then I kind of got the thing I needed and like, okay, maybe I can keep doing this and I'm actually meeting my own need by just like speaking to it. Like that's sort of what I'm observing. Like the shift kind of happened. Nothing that we're saying, I don't think is like actually meeting your need as much as what you're saying. At least that's my perspective of it. The way that you're sharing yourself in this sort of like sharing yourself from your heart is like, it's bringing the piece that you identified was missing for you, like between the other call and this call. And like, I am just appreciating you and honoring you for making space for yourself because you're making space for everybody by doing that. So I just thank you very much. And
thanks, Katie. I feel like that was my intention. So thank you for seeing me.
And just to kind of, I believe, translate what Q is saying about I wouldn't have brought this up here. I think it's the same thing Katie was saying, which is it kind of took me by surprise, you know, bringing it up a month and a half after the fact. It kind of feels like if that was there the whole time, like, why don't you bring this up to me sooner? And it, you know, Q would never reprimand you or probably anybody else. And so it's important for me to know that, you know, that I will never reprimand you, I'll never abuse you, I'll never like punish you for anything. I really feel strongly that Q and Katie feel the same way. And so when Katie says, you know, I want you to express your needs, I want you to express how you're feeling, the question for me that comes up is, do you feel the same about us? Do you want us to express how we're feeling? Do you want us to express our needs? And I get the sense that when I do, it's often, or it can be perceived as, or it can be upsetting for you. You know, asking you to write about the value you receive from our session seemed to be upsetting for you. I feel hesitant to ask you for a variety of things that I want to ask you for, but I feel afraid that Chanel is going to feel attacked if I have this particular need. And so that is something I have not known how to share for a long time, because and that's what I'm saying, it kind of feels like a trap, is if I share that I have something that I need, it feels like it will be interpreted as bullying you or condescending or some other way. And I really, my intention is I really want you to feel loved. I really want you to feel included. I want you to feel happy. And I know you're an amazing person. And I have no doubt about your genius. And if you knew how cared about you were, in my perception, there would be no issue at all. If you knew how much we really care about you. And so it's the understanding that our love is conditional that is the issue in my perspective.
Can I share something?
Sure.
I'm feeling pretty like frustrated and having a hard time staying present for this conversation. And I think it's in part, I'm torn. Like I in part appreciate that it's happening in this group space, but I also feel like I wasn't there and several others weren't there. So it's like not in the moment. It's like not now. It's not alive. It's like it's a past-based moment that train is going by. So it just, I don't know. I appreciate like authentic relating and experiences when like it's about something we're all a part of or can connect to. So I would like to contribute or hold space. I just kind of feel like it's going through the ringer a little bit of an emotional process. And I guess my request is like, for some like just, I guess what feels missing for me is just like trust and clear communication. Like maybe what I want to add is like, I live in a world, in a space with people where like we make requests of each other and people can say yes, no, or counter, period. Like I feel like this is getting really entangled in like, I want this for you and I want you to feel loved and it feels kind of codependency emotionally. Like, so I guess I kind of want to not be a part of the conversation at this point. Like it's kind of activating like an emotional process and like where it's like, I don't know. I want everyone, my request, my desire, my hope as a life practice is we like own our needs. I'm not even clear what Chanel's need was, and I feel like I missed something, because then there was communication of thanking Chanel for sharing what her needs were, and I'm not even clear what her need was. So what was the need? Maybe it was the need just to have the conversation, but like, so I don't know. It feels like we're getting a little swampy for me. It's just my personal being transparent and where I'm at as someone just like listening to a conversation that in a group dynamic that I was not a part of.
Yeah, thank you. I feel similarly. So that feels like the thing that needed to be said next, which is I'm really grateful for. Lisa, did you want to add something?
I guess just like, I feel that too, a little bit torn, because on the one hand, I feel very privileged to be able to witness what's unfolding. But on the other hand, I feel almost like I'm witnessing something that's not for me to witness. Like it feels private, and that this is a space that like, I feel like really values a balance, a give and take, a hearing what everybody has to say. Everybody comes with their own personal shares, and we were in a flow that was like really beneficial to me, that then got derailed, and I don't resent that at all, because I think that bringing things like this up require an amount of bravery that is like a lot that maybe I wouldn't have. But I'm not sure like where I fit in this conversation. I have been like, maybe I should excuse myself because something is happening here that needs to happen, but I don't know that I, Alyssa Mandel, have anything to do with the solution to this problem. So maybe I should excuse myself, is sort of how I felt.
Yeah, I feel that. And I'm seeing needs come up. You know, Mira had a need that she expressed, Alyssa had a need that she expressed, and these needs, interpreted through a distorted lens, could be seen as reprimands, or they could be seen as needs. And so I'm really experiencing these as really beautiful, heart-centered needs. And if anybody takes these needs as like reprimands, or as I should feel guilty because I'm hearing these needs, then that can be a that's one interpretation. But I'm really enjoying where the energy gets to just hearing these needs. It feels exciting for me, and it feels like, okay, here's the next step in the evolution. So and here's where we all get to decide what interpretation we have of this experience moving forward. Is like, do we feel complete, or do we want to be in the muck more? Do we want to be in the do we want to suffer, or do we want to create whatever's next? So I feel pretty I could be done with that conversation right now, and I'm happy to feel what feels right next. We can all just take a couple of breaths, I think.
Well, I definitely feel complete for the time being, and I feel like the reason I didn't bring up my needs sooner was just not knowing where the time or space for that would have been. And having voiced that, I feel like I want to ask Alyssa where you would have liked the conversation to go, because you said that you felt derailed.
Yeah, thanks.
I mean, I don't have any expectations of where it could go. It just felt, and I think that this needed to happen now because it needed to happen now, and I don't, and I respect and honor that. It had, I guess, like when I come here to these groups, which I'm much newer to than most of you, it feels like a balanced time of sharing for everyone, or everyone who wants to participate. And I'm a little, I feel a little like, I don't know. Gosh, sometimes everybody in here has such great language for expressing themselves, and I feel like I'm putting a cap on my authentic expression, which is much more rambunctious and full of curses. So, but it's maybe not appropriate.
Oh, no, please go for it. Don't hold your best self back. It's great.
I'm a person who likes attention as well, and I don't feel sometimes like I can really ask for that, but I'm trying to, in the service of giving space to everybody else who needs to say what they need to say. Okay, I can be quiet. There are other places where I can get that attention. but sometimes when I feel like, no, Ulissa, you must be quiet now, sit in the corner and don't speak, my inner child is like freaking out a little bit. Like, this isn't my place now. I don't know. I'm glad. Thank you for asking me, Chanel. But I don't even know where I expected it to go. I just was. And you know what? Like, maybe it's good for me to have experienced the authenticity of something uncomfortable happening, because I do think that before this conversation, we were talking about really good feeling things, and I'm a Sagittarius, and I'm like, and just like the perennial optimist, and maybe if I weren't coaxed into situations where people are talking about uncomfortable things, I might never do it. So I don't know. I'm happy to be here. I don't know what's happening.
Tesla, yeah.
I want to ask my body how it feels in all this. So I want to share something I've learned recently, which I will do it for myself, and that would be my expression of how I feel. I'm holding my heart and belly.
I think we lost her.
Oh no.
Yeah, her internet cut
That
out.
was Scotty.
Oh, that was so nice.
Well, Matt, I have a request that would bring me to completion with the conversation. And my request, and I hope is from a place of wanting to support and for clarity. But Chanel, could you tell me what your need was that you discovered in this process that you hadn't yet shared with Joshua, Katie, or Q?
My need was to create the space for my need to be heard.
Okay. Whatever the need. Was there a need that you wanted to be heard?
The need was to essentially clear what hadn't been said between me and these three other connections that I felt were impacting my ability to show up as myself in this group. And therefore the whole group. And so I needed to create space, clear space for more for more embodiment, more expression, and more allowance of myself to be here.
Cool. Okay. And did that happen for you? Did that process feel complete? Like, is the space clear for you?
Yeah, I think as much as it can be for this moment. I think that there's always, I feel like one of the things is like a journey to the full expression of needs that is kind of always occurring, and it's not always like every need is like first of all known on the inside and expressed on the outside immediately. I think in general in life, there seems to be that process being a journey of like knowing oneself on the inside, expressing it on the outside.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Great.
How are you feeling hearing that?
Me?
Yeah.
Good. I feel glad that it feels complete. I really recognize the power of having the space clear and previous conversations feel complete, so you can create something new and have something new emerge in the space. So I'm glad to hear that. And I also understand like that there's a deepening process of recognizing needs and owning them and then sharing them and having them be heard, and that you might have pieces of that in your journey, or maybe with these three that you've mentioned. So I understand the completion with always new possibilities, new need possibilities clarified.
Yeah.
So I feel good. I'm like, I personally just have a little residue so I wanted to be proactive in getting it complete by knowing that like you were complete, and that creates an experience of like, okay, good. This was like a valuable process then, which I'm happy about. And I just personally just have some frustration, which I already mentioned, was just about feeling like people were talking about what was going on for the other rather than just your own experience. So I just have a need or desire myself for just like self clarity as a journey. And so that was sort of tweaking me a little bit when like Joshua was speaking a lot to what he thought was going on for you, Chanel, or like in the beginning, I didn't experience you, Chanel, speaking directly about yourself. And so that was just challenging for me to hold space for.
Thanks. And that's reminding me that there is a portion of this conversation that feels unfinished, and that is around what Joshua feared my responses would be to his needs. And I feel like maybe he and I need to take that offline, but it's up to him.
Cool. Chanel, may I be bold and ask you, if you'd like to have that conversation with Joshua, could you make the request to have that? Not, or do you want to leave it up to him?
Well, he stated that he has needs that he hasn't told me about because he doesn't feel, the way I was hearing it, was completely safe with me to be able to receive those needs. And so I'm going to leave that up to him to get there.
Okay, so you're complete with it though, then, on your end. If he doesn't do anything, you can be complete.
I can be complete, yeah.
Cool. Okay, awesome. Cool. Thanks.
Q has amazing hair again.
Thank you. It's funny because you say you have amazing hair, and then I'm like, I'll take this as an opportunity to share. So when I want to share, I'll just be like,
yeah, exactly.
I just feel like I want to express my appreciation. I'm feeling appreciation, and there's a few nodes of it, and one of them is for Mira asking that clarifying question of Chanel, because that really helps clarify it and crystallize it for me, and that helps me feel completion in hearing Chanel's response. And so the next point of appreciation is for you, Chanel, for reflecting on and crystallizing that need that you had and responding to Mira in the conversation that you had. And I feel like one piece that I want to express also is that through this conversation, there was discomfort for me. And I want to say that I'm okay with that. And I want to say that I appreciate you bringing this up, Chanel. And I feel actually really happy and more like a sense of relief, or just like, yes, like some goodness here when you say that you needed to feel heard and to create space to feel heard, and that you did that, and that I was able to hear you. And I want to say clearly that I hear you, and I appreciate that you brought this up, even though it was uncomfortable for me. I still think it's valuable that you brought it in the way that you can. And so I just wanted to make that really clear, that I appreciate you for bringing it.
It kind of reminds me of how Katie says, I'd rather you disappoint me than keep yourself a secret. And so, just because we're going to have feelings doesn't mean it's a problem. We are all adults, and so we're going to have feelings. We're human. And so, I'm discovering my fears of expressing my needs to Chanel as I'm speaking that. And so it gives me the awareness to be able to own my needs just by realizing, oh, I have fears. So I have been holding things back, and so I can handle that. And so speaking that helps me come into integrity with myself to do whatever I need to do once that's all conscious. Go team.
Yeah, I have an impulse right now to invite everybody to like breathe in and like put their arms up and then give themselves a hug. I don't know if y'all want to do that, but I can't.
And I'm inspired by your impulse, with another impulse to send you energy. Da, da, da. Whoosh!
I have the impulse to, this is so fun. It was an idea that I had this morning. I was like, this will never work. How will you be able to communicate it? But this is exactly the vision, was like going from one person to another, where I was like, I want to do something at the close of this intimacy container to really integrate the experience. And we all have different ways that integration feels good to us. It might be like giving yourself a deep breath hug or sending the energy. And I love the offering. I would like to invite us, if we feel open to this, to share a small gift like this with the group. And it could be something like, whatever it is that you feel like you would need right now, and way that you would like to integrate this, instead of just doing it for yourself, sharing it with the group. So I could go next, and whoever feels to go, whoever has the impulse after me, might share something of your own, something that your heart needs. I would like to invite us to close our eyes and meditate on a word or an intention that I want to take with me from this experience today and through the whole container. Anything that really jumps out at me, like just noticing what inside of me is shifting, and just naming it for myself. Just naming what my edge is and where my personal intention is to continue growing and transforming. I'm going to leave some space with just silence to meditate on this, and I invite you to perhaps write down this word if that would feel right to you. And letting it be something that is really personal for you and yourself. And if you do feel called to share, I would invite that as well. I can start by just sharing the word that came up for me was courage. And it was the first word that came into my mind. And what I love about it is that has the word cur, means heart. And so it reminds me that bravery really starts with the softness of the heart. And just reminding me that sometimes putting down my shield can actually be more courageous than leaving it up, even though traditionally going into battle might involve a lot of armor. And I love this word circle. It really feels like we're in a circle right now.
Yeah, and I want to say that the motion that you just did, subconsciously or otherwise, with your torso, moving it in the circle, is what I think about a lot that really helps me become unstuck, is imagining this string from the top of my head to the center of the base of my pelvis, and somebody spinning it, which sometimes I like to do like physically and begin with large circles and then make them smaller and smaller and smaller until you can just close your eyes and feel that circular motion happening inside of you even when you're still. It makes a lot of space inside.
Wow, that's beautiful.
And for me, the word ready came up, and I guess it's kind of like synonymous with courage. It's sort of this like, yeah, I mean, it might hurt, it might be uncomfortable, but I'm ready. I'm ready to be in that. I'm ready to experience that, and I'm ready to also Q put acceptance. I'm ready to accept it. Yeah. I'm enjoying these circles.
For me, the theme was just the word, what I said in the beginning was just around stuck energy, and like just valuing, like finding stuck energy and moving it through. I'm looking at like a river right now. It just is like, you know, streaming through, and just seeing what we moved today felt like some stuck and stagnant energy, and I'm looking at that in myself. And so yeah, just it's a little uncomfortable. Like I'm like sitting with the stuck energy, so I'm kind of like uncomfortable, but
The word is harmony, and I will be in the ocean in 3.5 hours. And I invite you to go to your personal waterfall in the bathroom to wash it off. Or find a river, lake, or a sea, or a bathtub to jump in.
I'm really appreciating the flow of this group energy and how we're all just allowing each other to sort of wash over us, and just remembering that when an impulse arises in you, that it's welcome here in the group, that if there's something that is coming to your heart or your mind, I just invite you to share it.
I want to share something. I want to share that when Mira gets frustrated about something, I feel fear of abandonment, because I really enjoy her presence in the group, and I feel like I guess I'm like trying to meet her standards in a certain way, and I feel like, oh shit, like I didn't meet her standards. And yeah, so I just wanted to express gratitude for how much that she contributes.
Can I jump in there and say that obviously I know all of you the same amount of time, which is not long, but like I have the same feeling about Mira, where I'm like, there's something inside of me that really wants to impress you, and also that I just am so, I admire you, and I feel like you just radiate so much beauty, and I'm like, I want to be in the same room as that person.
oh. I'm simultaneously so touched that you seeing me, and also wants my desire for just total comfort. Like, I don't really have words fully, but thank you for reflecting your experience with me. That helps me feel closer to you both. And also, you saying that, Joshua, like, has me feel like I can trust you more, like, because you're aware that you have that tendency, perhaps, that it might bring that up for you, like wanting to meet a standard of mine or have a sensitivity if I'm feeling frustrated. So, like, yeah, what a beautiful expression of just intimacy for you to just own it and name it and trust that I in the group can be with that and have it be a contribution to connection. And it does make me reflect of like, I had an impulse of like, I felt safe, like I can still be frustrated. Joshua's he's gonna be fine. I can be whatever I'm feeling. I can express whatever I'm feeling. But it also, you know, I don't really want to have that impression on people in life that like, you know, that's something I've heard before. And with what you shared too, Lissa, like I'm both flattered, but also like want to be just in the mud as a just, you know, human flesh with you both. So like it brings up for me something I'd love to be with both of you in, of like, how do we be in like the authenticity of like human to, you know, have those experiences of each other, but still be like raw, like connected in humanity, and not have that be a barrier. I wouldn't want that to be a barrier between our like true connection.
I definitely am aware of my own tendency to pedestalize people, because I think that there's something in my soul that always wants to be a student and is always searching for mentors. It's harder for me to step into my own power of being somebody's peer, or valuing myself enough to think that I deserve to be among people who I admire. You know, it's like the Groucho Marx thing. I don't want to be a part of a club that would have me as a member, kind of thing. But I've been working on it for a while, and I don't say any of this to put any pressure on you, just to let you know that I respect your opinions, just as I respect everybody's opinion in this group.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really resonate with this this conversation and these reflections, and I feel very similarly towards you, Mira. And I also relate to you in some way. Like I'm like, oh, I think I might be some people's Mira, like, you know, where it's like this, and I just like see you even just in the way you're receiving this and like talking about your experience through it. It's so like you're doing the thing that you talked about at the beginning of like integrating those two parts. That's really what it feels like. And it's like so healing and so like, whoa, it's no small feat to be able to do that.
Thank you. I feel goosebumps all over. Thank you for bringing that full circle. That means a lot to me, because yeah, when I shared it in the beginning, I was accessing a real struggle in it. So yeah, that means a lot to see a moment of it.
It's just your presence. Like you actually don't have to try to integrate it. It's like who you are. It's already done. Like the vessel that you are already integrates these two worlds. And so it's just like really beautiful and really powerful. It's just like, and you don't have to try to be powerful. You're just, it's your presence. It really.
Thank you. I'm really moved. Like, thank you. Thank you.
Well, I want to join the Mira shower. Shower.
The waterfall.
And growing up in a Middle East country as a woman, the first time I met you, Mira, I was like, whoa, this woman just goes, and no apologies and no, you know, holding back. And it was like, at first I was like, what is going on? and then really, oh my God, it's just like, this is the feminine rised in its full expression and power, and knowing, say it when it is so, because you know you say it from your heart and it's your truth. so there is no need to soften it, or sometimes it is very like it pierces. That was my experience, and then I was like, whoa. And this week I came to the circle. I was like, I wonder what Mira is gonna express today. And it's so beautiful to witness, because I think as women we're learning to really start owning our power and expressing love here. And there's a lot of ancestral traumas, information through epigenetics in our DNA, cultures, all the filters that were imposed upon us. So you're just so beautiful, and I appreciate you and I love you.
Oh, thank you. I love you too. Well, thank you for letting me be the embodiment in this moment as we create each other.
I love it. Yeah, let's all let our inner Miras come out, because Mira's just mirroring. She's a mirror.
Yeah.
That's inside of each one of us. This power we get to see represented in her is inside of us.
Yes.
And I wanted to see what will Mira wear today. Is she make makeup, and what kind of earrings? Because I always want to show up to every engagement like you do, but I don't. And so I just love that so much. Like,
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for the appreciation. Thank you. I feel seen. What a gift. Thank you for seeing me in the way that you each do. It really is a gift. Yeah, this is unexpected, magical moment to this call. It really felt like an antidote because, yeah, this was a journey we were on. So it's such a sweet, sweet blessing at the end. Thank you.
now I walk in beauty. Beauty is before me. Beauty is behind me, above and below.
Hello.
Me. Now I walk
In beauty.
Beauty is before me. Beauty is behind me, above and below me.
This is the closest that we get to have a bonfire with each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, this is such a heartwarming way to like wrap us all up. I feel so, yeah, the chills and juiciness.
Heartburst.
Yeah, big heartburst. So I would invite us to stay in this juicy energy, but maybe say goodbye, and we can end with a brief closing meditation to kind of seal this in, press the save button inside of us. But so I would invite everyone to unmute, and yeah, I have so much appreciation for each one of you, and I'm really grateful to have gotten to share this space with all of you.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. It's been a wonderful journey for me to get here. I feel like I'm, that sounds crazy, but I feel like I'm one of the ladies now. Just in this space, it's just such an honor to be here with as the only male in this space, and I'm just really touched to learn this way of doing things, and it's really nourishing. Thank you. and I'll see you next time. So we're gonna skip next week, and then we'll be back on 2 weeks from now for the next series, which will be a little bit different format, a little bit more deeper every time, but it'll be a little bit more focused on our specific superpowers. So you'll see what I mean.
Yay, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Whoosh. Well, I'm gonna find my waterfall.
Yes.
Yes. Amazing. All right. Well, I invite everybody to close your eyes if that feels right to you. And bring the attention back into your own body, noticing the rise and fall of sensations inside. As you sit here, still part of the same circle, with the glowing bonfire in the middle. And just taking a moment to tune into the vessel that you are inhabiting. And feeling the warmth of the fire, connecting that to the warmth inside. Where is the fire within me? Can I let it move me? And maybe moving the body a little bit, following where this fire wants us to go. Honoring that sacred feminine energy that we see in the fire, and noticing that it is within us and we are the container for it. We're both the fire and the container. And although this container, this group container, is about to come to a close, we get to take all of this fire that has built up and store it wherever it feels it would be most nourishing for us. Where can I put this fire inside of me so that I remember it's there whenever I need it? And like a fire, sometimes this flame cannot be contained within the limitations of our vessel. And trusting that in those moments when this energy wants to move out of us, it is safe to let it do so. Trusting that it comes from this place of love and warmth. We rest our attention on the heart, all the ways it is alive, in all the ways that it is perhaps quietly whispering its needs to us, or perhaps roaring what it needs into our being. And we get to say to the heart, thank you for letting me see you. We hear the heart say, thank you for seeing me. And as we go on about our day, we remember we can always come back to this place. Tuning into this heart and hear what our next right action is. And I invite you to stay in this place of meditation as long as you want to. As the Zoom meeting ends, and continue to be with yourself as we integrate this experience. You are so loved and so supported. My heart is welcome here. Joshua seems to have disappeared. Oh, he's right there, and he's going to end the meeting for us.
Thank you, everybody. Stay meditating if you like. Love you all.
Thanks, Katie.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care.
All of you.